Hello, hi. Welcome back to our Kubernetes series. In this particular video, we will be discussing on Kubernetes services. We will be seeing the problem without services and what is the Kubernetes service, how the problem solves it by the services. And there are three popular types of Kubernetes service. One was ClusterIP, and second was NodePort, and third was LoadBalancer. We will be seeing a head-to-head comparison for that and when to use which service type and a quick recap about this discussion. So let's quickly enter and have a discussion around this. First thing was, it is all for making easy to connect your application or reach your application to the real world, okay, end users basically. Okay, so how gracefully we are handling that by using these particular services. So this is the service. If you see the entire cluster, okay, within that there is a, whenever the user request comes, there is a service between the actual pod and the user or the application front end. Okay, so this particular service is these types. We'll be discussing how they're distributing the traffic or how they are handling the under the hood. Okay, so now let us understand the problem without shared services. So why you cannot use a pod IPs directly, especially the pods are temporary. You all know, whenever the pod restarts or rescheduled, it completely changes the IP address. It will assign a new IP address. So you cannot hard code a pod IP address also. If you hard code, let's say some 10.0.1.1.5 in your application, let's say this one, okay, in your application, you are coding this. So it will breaks whenever the pod is restarted. Why? Because this particular IP is going to change, right? So let's say here in the step one, you are calling uh, the API pod from your web portal. Okay, so let's say if you are indicating your uh, IP address here of your main application, then whenever this particular pod is restarted, this IP address will change, and again here API will point to the same, what we can say, IP address, right? So then that is cannot be reachable, and there is no stable endpoint exist. So pods can be on any node or any IP and changing constantly without warning. That is the main issue, and there is no load balancing either. Let's say if you call one pod directly or other pods sit ideal, and there is no traffic distribution happens. Okay, and the solution for this was Kubernetes services. Okay, so it is going to provide a stable fixed endpoint that always points to the right pod. Even if they restart also, it points to the right pod only. Okay, so this is the problem with without a service, and if you use or hard code a IP address also, pod's IP address. Okay, and in the, let's say in the step one, you are hard coding the IPs in this way. Okay, in the step two, if pod was restarted, then IPs will be changes, and this IP address is new. Okay, and you cannot reach each other. Each of the pods is cannot reachable. Okay, and you will get facing errors. And now let us understand the Kubernetes services. Okay, so let's understand a kind of definition and some points about the Kubernetes service, and on the hood or high level how it is going to work. We are going to see. First thing was, it is a stable as well as a fixed endpoint for your pods. Especially the service IP and DNS names never change, even if pod restarts also. Okay, and it gets your own IP address like cluster IP. Okay, so this particular virtual IP address is allocated when the service is created and stays forever, even if it recreated also. And it routes your traffic to a matching pods. So it uses your label selectors to find the right pods and sends your traffic to them, to that particular right pods. And then the final point was load balances automatically. That means it distributes the incoming requests across all healthy pods eventually. So you can think, for better understanding, you can think of it a reception desk. Service is like a reception desk. So you always call a reception, which is a service. So they can connect to the right staff. That means the pods, right employees, we can say. That means the right pods. So here, staff may change, but the reception number never changes, right? So that is what exactly the reception indicates the service here. Okay. Now, whatever we just discussed, the same thing, how exactly the service, it is like just a stable front end. Okay. Let's say if your pod A or your end user that calls a API service, okay, and I mean whenever the request goes, it calls to the API service, and here this particular service is having a cluster IP. Okay, this is one of the type of the service. We'll be discussing about NodePort, cluster IP, and a load balancer. Okay, and then this particular cluster IP having a label selectors. So then this particular label selector is going to have, let's say, if it was mapped as whatever the pod with the label app API. Okay, all the pods having this particular label, then all the load is distributed among this. Okay, and here pods may change, but the service stays stable. That is never change. Now let us understand the service types. There are three main types of Kubernetes service. One was cluster IP, second one was NodePort, and third one was load balancer. So cluster IP is the default type. So it is especially for internal cluster communication only. So other pods can reach it, but external users cannot reach to uh, this particular service. Okay, and here is the main points about the cluster IP. It is especially for pod-to-pod communication and internal only among the cluster, and there is no accessibility for external users. And especially we can use for backend database services, like whatever within the cluster resides, we can use that. And coming to the node port, it is for external exposure via the node IP. Okay, so what it does was it opens a port on each and every node. So the external traffic hits a node IP and associated ports, and it gets routes the traffic to the respective ports. So this is especially for external access via the node IP, and the port ranges from 30,000 to 32,767. And here one drawback was manual node IP is required, and it is especially uses for dev and testing purpose. And coming to the last one, which is load balancer, it is a cloud managed external service, we can say. So here cloud provider will provide a real external IP and load balancer. So it is best for production applications on AWS, GCP, Google Cloud, or Azure. So especially it is for, it is cloud load, cloud managed service, and cloud provider is going to provide the external IP, and it is a production ready load balancer. And the main thing was it is not free. Okay, these two are free. It is not free. So cloud costs may apply, and it is especially used for production front ends. Now let us deep dive into each and every service type, whatever we just seen, three service types, okay, and a kind of diagrammatic understanding also how it is going to work. As I said, the cluster IP is for internal use only. There is no external access. Accessible only inside the cluster, and there is no external user or else system can reach this particular service, and it is private by design itself. And then it is perfect for backend as well as database services. So the web pod calls the API pod via the cluster IP. So here DB will never expose to the outside. It will resides inside only. And then it is a default type. So if you don't specify in your YAML file, Kubernetes will create a cluster IP service automatically by defaultly. Okay, and then DNS also works. So other pods can call it by name also, API service and the associated port, and no IP or it is not a mandatory, we can say. Okay, so in the YAML specification, whenever you are specifying, the specification type should be cluster type. Okay, and this is how exactly the cluster IP works within the cluster. Okay, so this is the entire cluster. This is the cluster boundary, whatever you are seeing here, and we have a what we can say uh, three pods. Okay, main your web pod, API pod, API 1, and API 2. So here there is a API service. So whenever the web pod it talks to the API service, and then the API service is responsible for distributing the load across these two pods and reachability, availability, everything. Okay, and the main drawback here was there is no external users or accessible. It is blocked for external users. And the second type of service was node port. As I said, it is external accessible via the node IP. So it opens a port on each and every node. So it allows the external traffic to enter the service via the node IP and associated port. So here port ranges from 30,000 to 32,767. So here Kubernetes services this particular range for, sorry, Kubernetes serves this particular range for node port. So you can pick up one or Kubernetes also will defaultly assigns also. Okay, and it is especially good for testing and development, and a quick external access can be accommodated through this and without needing a cloud load balancer. Okay, and it is not for production recommended. Why? Because you must know the node IP, and node IP may changes whenever node was recreated. So there is no smart routing option or feasibility available with the NodePort. And in the YAML specification file, whenever you are specifying the type, it should be NodePort, and whatever the specification ports, whatever the node port you are specifying, you should specify the node port within the range of 30,000 to 32,766. And this is high level flow of a node port. Here, external users accesses through the node IP, and that hits by any node. And here there is a node 1 which having this particular IP and the port. Okay, so here we have a web service, and that is a node port actually, and that particular thing is responsible for routing the traffic to the available ports. Okay, and it works even on your different nodes also. Okay, uh, multiple nodes it works, even if it was in another, what we can say, another cluster. Okay, and the third type was load balancer. Okay, so here, as I said, it is a cloud managed service. So here cloud creates a real load balancer, like AWS, Azure, or GCP, a true production grade load balancer that will provide by the cloud platform. And it gets a real external IP. So the public it is a public IP or a host name also. So that the internet can reach it directly, and it handles the traffic distribution automatically. So the cloud load balancer will spread the traffic across the nodes, then the service routes to the associated ports. Okay, so uh, we'll be seeing the flow. By that you will get understanding. Okay, cloud load balancer will spread the traffic. This is going to spread your traffic across the nodes. This is the node. Okay, and this node routes the traffic to the associated pods under the pods. I mean, under the node, there is a pods, right? So that it will route the traffic. So this is how exactly user request flows. And as I said, this is a production standard followed by many of the organization. And in the YAML specification file, you need to specify the specification type as load balancer. Okay. Now let us compare three services. So these are certain criteria where comparison is going to happening in these points: external access, pod exposed, load balancing, cost, and it is best for. Okay, so here is the cluster IP, node port, and load balancer. Here is the criteria what we are going to comparison with. Especially for external access, cluster IP won't provide you external access, and node port will provide you external access via the node IP, and load balancer obviously provides you external access. And port exposed. So as cluster IP, it is not like exposed, it is internal use only. And there is a certain port range that limitedly can be exposed to the outside world. And in any port like 80 or 443, it can be reachable load balancer. And coming to the load balancing, so as it is a internal load balancing cluster IP, and NodePort provides a basic load balancing, and load balancer will offers a complete production grade load balancing. And coming to the cost, cluster IP and NodePort was free, and cloud costs should be applied for load balancer service. And coming to the best fit for cluster IP is best fit for internal backend as well as database storage, and database applications. And node port is suitable for testing and development environment. And coming to the load balancer, it is suitable for production grade environment or workloads. Now let us have a quick understanding on when to use which service type. Okay, so we can go with cluster IP, especially when we dealing with database services. Let's say we have a MySQL, PostgreSQL, that only your application ports should reach it. In that case, we can opt for this, and especially for internal IPs also. I mean, the backend microservices that don't need a external exposure. In that case, that needs only internal, right? In that case, we can opt for cluster IP. And security sensitive services also. There might be a authentication service, secret management service. So those are strictly internal. In that case, we can go with the cluster IP. And coming to the NodePort, when to use NodePort, especially for local development. So whenever you are testing the application quickly on Minikube or any local cluster, we can opt this. And for learning and demo purpose, a quick external access when you don't have a cloud database, and especially for having a simple setup also, you just wanted to have a on-prem cluster with non-node IPs. You don't want to flow with the cloud IPs. So in that case, I mean cloud workload, in that case, you can opt this NodePort. And coming to the load balancer, when to use for this particular thing, especially if you have your application, those are publicly facing applications, and users, real users need to interact and that need internet access. In that case, you can do this. And for production environment, production applications running on the cloud environments, and let's say if the traffic or service was very highly traffic, in that case we can opt this. Why? Because it provides the auto scaling, like horizontal auto scaling and proper routing based policies. So everything is handled by this. Now let's have a quick recap what we just discussed. We discussed three service types: cluster IP, NodePort, and load balancer. For simple understanding, it is like non-technical comparison. A cluster IP you can think as a internal extension. Let's say in your company there is a internal office numbers, right? So only your colleagues, that means certain pods can call it, and outside people cannot call or reach to that particular number. That is a cluster IP. And coming to the NodePort, it is a direct office number. So the uh, it is published a direct number anyone can call it, but they need to have a exact building address. That means node IP and associated port. Everything need to be there. Okay. And coming to the load balancer, it is like a customer support where there is a certain someone to 800 numbers. Anyone from the external world can reach out to this, and that will load balancer will responsible for placing that workload to the right agent. Okay. And on the high level, this is the cluster IP was for internal only. Node port was for via the node IP to the external world you can use, and load balancer via the cluster external IP we are using. So all uses the label selectors and all load balance traffic. So here is some concepts what we just see, like a stable endpoint, label selectors, load balancing, DNS built-in feature, everything. In the upcoming video, we'll be seeing on Kubernetes ingress concept. So I hope so you found some useful information out of this particular discussion. And one final point out of this discussion was, I mean, these all services is, I mean, can be chosen based upon your job basically. Okay, right tool we are choosing for right job. That's it. Okay, those are just options or feasibility solutions offered by the Kubernetes. And all the best for your learning. Thanks for watching. See you in next video.